Okay, y'all, welcome back. I need to find a name for this series. I probably have a name by the time this goes up. I'm gonna call it the healing series. Why not? Why would we make it more complicated? All right, so last week I talked to you about me setting a boundary with my mother in terms of her talking about one of my past abusers, and that I told her don't bring him up to me. And that ended in her barrage of voicemails about how she thought I was a better person and I wasn't being woman enough and all of this. And so I want to talk to you about, like, you can understandably know that I didn't know how to handle that because it was my mother. Like, why would she be talking to me in that way? And so I reached out to my brother because I'm like, who better to know the ridiculousness I'm putting up with than my sibling who also, right, had her as a mother. And so remember calling him and telling him about the situation and being really upset. And what I was expecting was empathy, compassion. Oh man, that's messed up. Like, really? Instead, he was like, well, you are holding on to it. You could just let it go. You could just get over it already. It happened so long ago. And I remember being like, I just want to talk to people. This is why I don't know how to be in a functional relationship, because the people who are supposed, quote unquote, supposed to be there, who's supposed to understand me, who's supposed to get it, who's supposed to have empathy, can't even do that. So why would I expect strangers to do that? And I remember being like, okay, I gotta get off the phone with you because you don't get it either. And I was like, I'm not talking to you either. I explained that I told him, like, I try my best to communicate. I try my best with him. I try my best with her. It doesn't seem like anyone is interested. Try to explain what's going on in my life. I try to explain what's going on in school, but everyone tells me it's not real, that I'm just pretending that school isn't the real world and I just got to get over it and I'm being spoiled. And I walked away from the situation being like, it is clear I have to stop depending on people to tell me who I am. And I have to decide who I am and who I will be. That very painful and hard experience of being like, damn, my own family, all I got is me. All I have is me. And when you can get to that point, and I hope you don't have to get to that point, I hope that you can get to this truth a different way. But it's true, like the only thing you do, the only one who could tell you who you are, the only opinion that really does matter at the end of the day, because the only opinion you have to live with every second of the day is yours. What do you think about you? What is your truth? I had to be like, even if my own mother and my own brother don't believe me or don't think it's a big deal or don't think like I'm still dealing with the consequences of almost a decade of abuse, if they don't believe me, I believe me. I got to be the one to believe me. And I mentioned in the last episode that the counselor at this point pieced out. So even if she can't be there, I got to be there for me. As hard of a lesson as this was, I was like, I got me. So then he tried to like come back around and calm down and be like, okay, maybe you just got to find a way to tell her how you feel. Maybe you got to find a way to talk to her in a way that she can understand. Because he would say, like, you know how she is. You know she can't be reasonable. And I was like, I don't want to do all that work. Why do I need to continuously put in work on that level when she can't even listen to me? She can't even ask me what I'm in school for. And he said, I had to try even in writing a letter. And I probably did try to write this. I did write a letter. I actually found it. But what's striking me now, because I'm reading what I wrote in 2015. What's striking me now is even in him doing his best to help me, what was missing was the empathy and compassion for me, was the validation for me to be like, that's hard. I can't imagine. You're so strong. Instead, it went immediately to how can you make her feel better? How can you say it in a way that she understands? And I believe that when I first learned about like setting boundaries, this is what I would hear when people would say, you set boundaries for you don't set them for other people. I used to think, oh, this is another person telling me that I have to just accept the abuse because this is what this is for my mother. Like, I have to accept this treatment because since she's not going to change, I have to be the one that change. And what I could tell you now, it's no. When you set boundaries, when you communicate with people, you're doing it for you, meaning you're releasing your emotions. You're communicating about how you feel, because when you release your emotions and you communicate how you feel, you're giving yourself validation. You're telling that little toddler in your brain, like, I hear you, I see you, and I got you. Like, I'm going to stand up for you, even when other people who, in theory, should be the ones standing up for you can't. I'm going to do it for you. Because your inner child is used to people not seeing them. Your inner child is used to people. Like, my inner child is used to my parents, my brother, people around me not thinking that being abused for a decade was real, or that it still had impacts, or that my school was important, or things like that. So it makes sense that I didn't know to give that to myself. But this moment and many moments like this forced me to figure out, like, girl, you got to do something or you're not going to be here. Because what would be the point of hanging on if there's nothing to hang on to, was sort of my thinking. So I did write the letter. I wrote out everything that I wanted to say to her, everything imaginable. I didn't hold back. I didn't change my language. I just let myself rage on a page. And I believe I typed a good 10 pages before I was like, okay, girl, we done. Our fingers are cramping up. Because there was so much anger in it. And maybe one day I'll read it. I just want to look over it before I read it. But what it helped me to do is, like, how do you forgive people? Because what kept coming to me was forgiveness, forgiveness. Not that I need to forgive her because I'm letting her off the hook or saying I condone what she did, but I needed to forgive her in the same way that I said in that message. I got to forgive you because I'm the one that's in pain. You're not in pain. You don't even remember. I'm in pain, right? So I took a few days and I thought more about it. So consumed by my own anger and rage, rightfully so, right? Feelings are valid, y'all. It might not be factual, but they're valid. I was valid in being angry and upset. And I just kept thinking, like, what do I want? I want acknowledgement. I want acknowledgement from the people in my life. I want her to acknowledge the role she played in it. I wanted a sincere apology. And I did not want a relationship with her. A lot of times when I'm talking to people, they're like, but it's in the same way she said, right? It's your parents. You're supposed to have a relationship with them. Are you? Why? Who said you're supposed to have a relationship? Why? You're no longer dependent on them. You're no longer a baby. You're no longer a child. You're not dependent on your parents anymore. You probably have little people of your own. Why do you have to have a relationship? Now, if you want to, that's a difference, but you're not obligated to have a relationship. Now, that's a different podcast for a different day, but I'm gonna come back, y'all. But I was just like, I just need some space. Thinking about that in 2015, I just need some space. I can't do the talking part with her now, but I will figure out how to forgive her from a distance. Right? I talked about this of, like, I think we think forgiving people is just letting them off the hook, like telling them, oh, it's okay that you hurt me. It don't matter that you hurt me. You don't have to suffer. And that's not what forgiveness is. Like Anne Lamott is like, not forgiving, it's like drinking rat poison and then waiting for the rat to die. When we don't forgive someone, when we're trying to hold them accountable, they don't feel it. We're the only ones who feel it. We're the only one who feels our emotions, even emotions like love. We're the ones who feel it. The other person don't. I mean, they could probably see it, but they don't feel it the way we do. So if I wanted to be a better person, if I wanted to be better at relationships, then I had to forgive her. I had to forgive my family. And what I started to do was, I was already doing this practice, but I doubled down on the practice of writing down any memories that I could remember. Writing them down, like, how did I remember it? How did it make me feel? Which is really difficult because, number one, there was a lot of things that I didn't remember. And number two, for the things I did remember, it was really hard to relive those emotions. And so I'm going to say this again. Please don't do this work alone. Please do this work with someone, like a therapist, because you don't know what might come up. But if you have no choice, I just want you to tread very carefully. Give yourself as many breaks as possible, because this work is not for the faint of heart, y'all. What I was doing every day was writing down my memories, writing down my emotions. I was allowing the intensity of the emotions to come in at once. It was very overwhelming. There was plenty of times where I was like, oh no, girl, shut down. I'm not doing that. I had to continue it though. It was important for me to continue to acknowledge my pain and to forgive others so that I can move on and live a life, to have like relationships that were reciprocal, to be able to be intimate with people. I'm not talking about sex. I'm saying truly trust people, to openly connect with other people. I started writing letters to my family. I wasn't going to give them the letters. The letters wasn't for them. It's for me, right? It was a way for me to get out my feelings. It was a way for me to help me decide, okay, in this season of life, what do I need? If I want to continue a relationship with them or not. And if I do, what will I need to continue that relationship with them? It also helped me to see the patterns that I had in my own life. Like, while I may have learned them from my family, I was still the one using them. I was still enacting them. Did I want to break them? Did I want to do something different? And then I continue to go to counseling. So after a few months, I found a different counselor because this homegirl said she was out. I found a different one. And I had to go through a few people before I found one that I was like, okay, girl, I can rock with you. Y'all, but there is a story there. I think it's one of my old podcast episode because the therapist I end up working with, she was really helpful to get through this period of time. What she was not helpful with is when it came to the relationship for the original reason I went to counseling. But what came from that was a dissertation topic, and I will be grateful to her forever for that. But she needed some more support. Okay. I continued to go to counseling and continue to work through things. There was other things I could do that I could tell you. I'm sure will come out in this series. But y'all, I would tell you that one of the main things that I added that I mentioned earlier was coaching helped so much. Because what I was finding, at least in my experience with therapy and counseling, was that they were so focused on the relationships in the past, like my mother and my father, and that is helpful, right, for us to learn the patterns. What I was struggling with was I couldn't get out the bed in the present moment. I couldn't figure out how to finish my doctoral program. I couldn't figure out how to find a job. I couldn't figure out how to feed myself every day. What was going to happen in the moment? It's great that we're going back in the past, but who gonna help me in the moment? Who helps me to figure out what do I want life to look like? If I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over, if I don't want to keep living out the patterns of my parents, who's going to help me understand what that means that I went through the past, understand that why I'm having a hard time in the moment moving forward. To simply tell me to think positive and move forward wasn't helping. Y'all, I couldn't get out the bed for months. I couldn't really eat because between the relationship that I went to counseling for in the first place and all this other stuff coming up, I couldn't function day to day. And the answer that I got was medicine. Take this, Zoloft, lorazepam, beta blockers, Wellbutrin. Like I was going through medicine, and I was like, that's great, y'all are drugging me, but I still am having a hard time moving forward. I can't make sense of the future. Coaching came in to help me make sense of the future. I started learning about life coaches. I started following the few that I could find in 2015. Because y'all, it was for real the wild, wild west in 2015. Okay. It was not like today. I sound like I'm so old, but I'm not. But I found a few people that I was like, yeah, and a lot of those people happen to be those suffering with addiction. 'Cause I feel like they spoke my language. It was through listening and talking through things and doing this work that I was like, I don't have to keep doing the same things. Again, I am not sitting here saying I'm completely healed. It's great. I don't ever have a problem. This stuff never comes up. No, I have more tools though. I don't stay in these spirals as long as I used to. To me, that's how you mark progress. That's one of the stories about boundaries and forgiveness. I would love to know how y'all are enjoying this series so far. Do you think I should keep doing this? I have 2 more episodes, but if you're like, no, girl, we're not feeling it, you let me know. But like I said, I was doing this too as a way to continue my mourning, my grieving process. I have, like I said, I wrote 28 of these. So this was just number 2 and 3. I can't wait to share with you the rest of them. But for real, let me know on Instagram what your thoughts are about this episode so far. I'm going to talk to y'all next time. Bye.